Flurry, Equetrias' Greatest Monster. Written by Cartoon Lover 17. Read by 8 Flame. Chapter 2. Death to Flurry, Part 2. End of Arc. 30 years into the future, Seebuka, the Resistance base. Cadence felt like her heart was going to explode. It was beating faster and faster every second as she heard the clocks tick. Her eyes were glued to the clock on the wall. She paced back and forth in her private study. How can I do this? Repeated in her mind. She stopped pacing when she caught sight of her own reflection in the mirror. Damn you, Nova. Damn you, Thor. And damn you, Shadow Blaze. The war had significantly changed her look, mostly because of the Empire's greatest three generals. Nova, adopted by her daughter and raised as her protege, general of the daughter's army, had ripped out part of Cadence's ears with her own teeth. Shadow Blaze, the general of Equetria's navy magic beams, had caused multiple scars and burn marks all over Cadence's body. Same with Thor, the general of the Equestria's Air Force general, had swords and brute strength. The stallions even ripped out and burned part of her mane and tail. Her eyes wandered to her wings, one of them unpreened and battered as it was broken multiple times. The other was mechanical as her old wing had been ripped out completely by Equestria's Empress in the battle for the Crystal Empire. The doctors had told her that if her broken wing didn't start healing soon, she'd need a second mechanical one. Damn you, Fleur, Cadence cringed. No, I'm sorry, Flurryheart. I love you, and I always will. Whenever she looked at herself in the mirror, she was no longer Princess Miyamori Condenser, General of the Resistance. She was just Cadence, the mother of Equestria's greatest monster. She felt the waterworks coming and quickly wiped her eyes. No more crying. I cried enough when my daughter, Skylar, was killed by her own older sister. When she made the Crystal Empire her army, my subjects are now having to live under my eldest daughter's tyranny. My empire has been taken away from me. My aunts were killed by their own adoptive great niece. Thank the stars for shining in eyes, training being held up. It saved us from going to that meeting. Pinkie Pie, Spike, Rarity, and all the citizens of Ponyville who died in the town's destruction. Thank God that Twilight, Rainbow, Applejack, Fluttershy, Starlight, and Sunburst were safe in the Everfree Forest with Sokoa at the time. My adoptive parents, they're gone too. The new element of laughter, Cheese Sandwich, the new element of generosity, Coco Pomel, Discord, Sokoa, and Shining. Dear Shining. They all died in the battle for the Crystal Empire. My sister-in-law, who used up almost of her magic to protect us in that failed invasion, comatose. My fallen soldiers, I've lost so much, I can't bear it. And it's all because of her. Cadence sighed. Where did I go wrong? What did I do to make her do just atrocious things? One day she was my daughter, Princess Flurryheart, future queen to the Crystal Empire. The next day she's Empress Flurryheart, the tyrannical dictator and ruler of the Empire of Equestria. Equestria, or its new name, the Empire of Equestria, now had territory spreading almost the entire world. All nations feared the Empire as they mixed technology and magic together, making weapons of mass destruction. Their weapons had no match such as making anti-magic generators. Even Discord couldn't defeat them. Mixed that with an Empress who had taken the magic from her Alcon victims. He had been defeated quickly, sacrificing his life to save Fluttershy. The Resistance was at war with Equestria, but ever since that failed invasion of the Crystal Empire which had claimed Shining Armor's life, the Resistance had been losing the war badly. A god came into the former ruler of the Crystal Empire's womb with a mixture of shock, worry, and fear on his face. He was Lieutenant Moonstone Mustang, one of the only crystal ponies who had managed to escape. the Crystal Empire when the Empress of Empire of Equestria mind-controlled the crystal ponies to be her army. He was an old friend of Shining Armor and Cadence's most loyal companion. Your Highness, I've been informed that you are planning on going back in time again. Hair covered the ashamed general's face. She couldn't look him in the eye. Tears welled up in her eyes. I will go back in time for the 7th time, but I will do something different. All my plans to reform her before she destroyed everything have failed. This war was gone on for 22 years, and I must stop it before we all are killed. Do you not love your daughter anymore? Asked Moonstone Mustang. The princess sniffled. Of course I do. I might not ever forgive her, but that doesn't mean I can't still love my daughter. Moonstone nodded, tears also welling up in his eyes. What happened to her? Why? What are we going to do? Not a day goes by that blame my parenting for all of this, Moonstone. She became power-hungry and corrupted by dark magic like Aunt Luna, responded Cadence. The Alcon looked at the clock. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. The time she was dreading. Guess it's time for me to go. May I escort you? Asked the lieutenant. Cadence nodded, and Moonstone Mustang trotted by her side to the meeting room. The pink pony took in a deep breath and pushed open the door and with her magic. Inside the room was a long table seating the remaining highest-ranking officials in the Resistance. There was Fluttershy, Rainbow Dash, Applejack, Starlight Glimmer, and her husband, Sunburst. Hello, Princess, choked out Sunburst. Cadence let out a heavy sigh and took a seat. Hello. The Alcon's eyes scanned the room, all of them held in tears, although Flurry had taken so much from them. She was so close to their hearts. The elements were like aunts to Flurry. Yet she'd killed 2 elements and put another in a coma, and the element of magic's assistant. Sunburst was Flurry mentor and her royal crystaller. They had a relationship like Celestia and Twilight's relationship. Sunburst was almost like a second father to Flurry. He'd been there ever since she was only a few days old. She'd even been his best mare when he had wed his childhood friend. She was close friends with their daughter, Starburst. Yet not long after she turned into a tyrant, she'd killed Starburst and betrayed them. Hell, she'd betrayed all of Equestria. But killing Starburst was something none of them had ever been able to forget. Princess Cadence, are you sure? Asked Starlight. There in her hooves was the spell she'd used to try to win the friendship of Twilight and her friends. She'd kept it for all these years. Flurry had destroyed Twilight's castle in the destruction of Ponyville that had killed Spike, Rowdy, and Pinkie Pie. But she kept the kitty map and wanted the Starlight's time-traveling spell so that she could go back in time to kill her mother. Cadence had first came up with the plan to go back in time. The first time she'd proposed it, it had been eagerly accepted by the weakening resistance. Cadence, after the failed invasion, went to the Crystal Empire to get the map, and there it was, the map in the corner she could use to save Equestria. 3 of the Alcon princesses were dead. One of them was the one who killed the 3, and one was in a coma. Cadence was now the only ruler that ponies could ever turn to. Since then, Cadence had gone back in time 6 times to try to persuade her daughter not to turn into the tyrant she was now infamous as. Each time was a failure, and each time her support from the other members of the Resistance had dwindled. But now she had a new plan. Her plan was to kill her daughter as an infant before she could grow up to be a monster. At first it experienced backlash, but eventually it was accepted as the only remaining option. Cadence took a seat. Yes, I'm sure it's our last possible thing. Starlight blinked back tears. Very well. She used her telekinesis to pass the paper containing her spell to the pink Alcon. Cadence read through it for the umpteenth time. The 6 rushed over to the former ruler of the Crystal Empire and embraced her. Please be safe. said Fluttershy. I'll try, replied Cadence. Burn sauce? Asked Applejack. Yes. Flurry roast. Make floors there quick and painless. Princess Cadence's heart wrenched as she heard the nickname she gave her daughter. Fleur and Empress Flurry Heart were two completely different ponies. Fleur was dead. All that remained was Empress Flurry Heart. Rainbow Dash took the cloak and long sharp knife off the table and handed them over to the Alicorn. You'll need them both, Your Highness. Cadence put on the cloak and put the knife in a beat-up saddlebag that had seen better days. The pink Alicorn brought up the old scroll with her magic. It crackled with energy for a moment before sending a beam into the center of the table. The map manifested itself, spreading out towards the edges. A wind began to blow through the room. A small ball of blinding white light grew into a glowing, translucent dome set with arcane symbols that ticked and shifted like the gears of a clock. Cadence looked behind her to see the 6 ponies she held so dear. Thank you for everything you have done, my friends. A large boom rattled the ears of all 7 ponies, knocking them onto the floor. Smoke poured through the door out of the hallway. The Princess of Love heard the battle cries of her soldiers. Her daughter's forces had found her. The resistance base had been compromised. Go! Now! Screamed Rainbow Dash. But I, muttered Cadence. Now! Uttered Rainbow Dash, getting into a battle stance. The princess used her magic to float herself up toward the wormhole she'd created. Goodbye. That was the last thing she said as the dome sucked her into its lower opening like a vacuum cleaner. As she and the scroll disappeared from sight, it then contracted to a ball and winked out, the wind dying away in time. Cadence awoke groggily. She cringed as she could hear crickets chirping and feel grass brushing her fur. Cadence slowly rose to her hoofs, rubbing her head. Oh no. Dread filled the Alicorn, her friends. Her friends were going to die. Cadence almost started to hyperventilate. Wait! If this goes correctly, the future will be rewritten for the better. Cadence examined her surroundings. She was in the garden. What? Where am I? Cadence gasped as she saw a statue of her ancestors, Princess Amore. Of course, this was the castle gardens. It had been so many years since they'd looked like this. So lush, so green. Cadence let out a relieved sigh, but it was cut short as she remembered why she was here. Past me and shining armor will be heartbroken, but it's for the better. They'll have another foe at least. The future and I would cease to exist. I'm glad I won't exist. I won't be able to live with the guilt. She heard footsteps coming. She quickly grabbed the scroll with the time travel spell written on it, stashing it into a saddlebag. In her mind, she tried to visualize her old castle. It had been a very long since she was there. Teleportation only worked if you'd been in the place before, and it had to be close. If you didn't want to exhaust it. Before the guard came to her, the Alicorn teleported away. Cadence almost fell on her face, now in one of the old castle's halls. Sweat poured down her face. Guess I went too far.